Hey, welcome back. In today's video, we're gonna learn how to create a 3D product ads all inside of After Effects. So you're gonna learn a lot of things today because I'm gonna show you how to create a seamless background using shapes. And also we're gonna rig the camera in a way that it's easier to maneuver, create the perfect camera animation that you always wanted in a very easy way. Okay, and finally we're also going to achieve a very clean render. So with that said, let's get inside After Effects and let's get started. All right, so first things first, let's create a shape. So I'm just going to grab the rectangle tool and I'm just going to draw a rectangle just like that, and we're gonna collapse this rectangle, go to rectangle path, and I'm just going to add the roundness because we need these rounded corners. So maybe somewhere around this one should be fine, and I'm just going to collapse this back. I'm just going to select this rectangle one, right click, convert to Bezier path, and I'm just going inside this rectangle path. I'm just going to select this, and you still have the rectangle path here. Select on this path, select on the selection tool, and I'm just going to grab these 2 points. So right click, go to mask path, and I'm just going to uncheck this closed. So we have the open path now, right? So we're gonna just deselect it and select the path again, and I'm just going to delete this because we don't need that anymore. And I'm also going to select these points, delete that, so we're left with this one. So I'm just going to extend this using the arrow keys on the keyboard, and I'm just going to extend this top part using the top arrow keys. All right, so you're left with this, and make sure you turn off this rectangle path 1, or else you have something like this. So maybe I can just delete the rectangle path, just delete that because we don't want that anymore. All right, so before we move on, we're gonna change this anchor point to the bottom here. So I'm just going to select this pen behind tool. I'm just going to move it down here. If you hold down Control on the keyboard, it will snap it exactly on this line. So I'm happy with that. Make sure you are on an advanced 3D because we're working on 3D layers here. Hit Ctrl K on the keyboard to go to the composition settings, go to the renderer, and make sure you are at advanced 3D. So yeah, okay, and make this a 3D layer. And I'm just going to collapse this and go to the geometry options, and I'm just going to extend this extrusion depth. So I'm just going to the max, which is 1000, and right now it's facing in the direction which we really don't want, right? So we just need to go to rotation, hit R for the rotation, and we're just going to rotate on the X, I guess, no, Y axis, right? So I'm just going to set the values to 90, right? So that's perfect. We're gonna move the Z axis here, and we're gonna duplicate a few copies of this, right? So I'm just gonna move it backwards a little bit here and something like this, and Control D to duplicate it, and I'm just gonna move it here, duplicate one more time, Control D, and move it here. Now you have the seamless background ready. Okay, if you find this video helpful so far, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you want to master After Effects and land high-paying clients, sign up for my new After Effects course. I'll be releasing it very soon. Alright, so once you have the background in place, let's go and import the model. By the way, I'm using this model from Sketchfab. By the way, you can grab the project file on my Patreon page by becoming a member, and that's also the way you can support what I do. I would really appreciate that. Let's just import the model inside the timeline. Let's just drag and drop it, make comp size, hit OK. I'm just going to scale it down to maybe around 30. Alright, so we're going to have to place it exactly on top of this. So we are going, let's just make some room here, go to 2 views, and you see that you have 2 views. I have the top view. I just want to go to the left view, right, so that you can see here. So it's just black. Turn on the transparency, you can just see it better, and let's just zoom in and move this down so that the perfume just touches the floor. So let's go back to one view. So let's go ahead and create a camera. I'm just gonna stick with an 80 millimeters, hit OK. And I'm just gonna add a new null object here. So I'm just going to make this a 3D layer. So this is really important. Make the null object a 3D layer. Okay. So once you're happy with that, I can just select on the camera, hit C multiple times until you have this icon. This is the dolly in icon. So I'm just going to dolly in towards the subject, which is the perfume. And you can just turn on the title action save to see if this is centered or not. I can just hit C multiple times to toggle between different modes of the camera. And I'm just going to move this somewhere around in the center of the composition. Okay, so this is really important. Something like that should be fine. All right, so once you are happy with the framing, I can just go to two views and let's just select on the null object. You can see the null object is just on top of this. You're going to want to place the null object exactly on the same position where you want the subject, because we want to focus on the subject. So we want the anchor point of the camera to be at the exact position of the subject, right? So we're going to focus on the subject and move the camera around, right? So we're going to place it exactly at the position of the subject, which is the perfume here. All right, so once you are there, select the camera and parent the camera to the null. That way, if you hit R, selecting on the null object, if you rotate the camera, you can see it's exactly focusing on that subject. Okay, that's really very cool. Now you can just be creative and add some camera animations on the rotation of the null object. So we're just gonna undo that, and I think we're gonna animate the y-axis. We're gonna rotate it, something like this, okay? So we're gonna start from, let's just go back to one view so that we can see it better. And yeah, I can just scrub the values of the y, maybe from here. I'm just gonna set a keyframe for the y rotation and go to the last. Let's just go to, just rotate it maybe here. And what you can also do is you can add some more rotation to the x-axis if you want. So I'm just gonna set a keyframe just for the sake of demonstration. And maybe tilt it up, something like this. This is the animation that we have created so far. All right, so let's collapse this and maybe let's just start working on the look of the render, right? So we are done with the animation phase now. Let's just go to layer, new, and create a new light. So here I'm going to use multiple lights. I will not limit myself from using just one single light. You can see online a lot of people are just using environment light to expose their subject. I would treat environment light as a global illumination to emit the scene globally, and I would use some extra lights to add some more details on the specular highlights and the shadows. That way you have more depth and you also have a cleaner render like that, okay? So let's just create an environment light first. And I'm just going to hit OK. Make sure you check this cast shadows. That's really very important for a realistic render. Hit OK. And I'm just going to use this HDR image and drag and drop this. And I'm just going to turn this off. Go to environment light. Go to light options. And I'm just going to switch the source to the layer, the HDR layer. And you can see you have it there. You might not see some shadows sometimes. So to fix that, go to this button, go to render options, and just click on fit to scene, hit OK. And that will bring up the shadows. Once you are there, I will add more lights. I'm just gonna go layer, new, and light. And this time I'm gonna use the spotlight, okay? Hit OK. So let's just go to two views. Or maybe I could just turn off the environment light so that I can see how the spotlight looks by itself. Yep. And maybe I'm just going to move it towards the, and move it up. And I want to point it down, something like this, something like that. And I just want to go to top view, the top view. And let's just go back to the left view. if it's taking a while to render, we can just go into render options and I can just go bring this to draft, go to smoothness to around 2, make this lower so that you can see it faster. You can see the result faster. Okay. So once you're happy with the settings later on, you can just crank up the values and you can just hit render. So I'm just going to try to align the place the spotlight perfectly. Okay, that's not bad. And I'm also going to add one more light, which is uh, the point light. Okay, hit OK. And I just added the point light. It's somewhere around here. Let's see the render, how it looks. Yep. And I'm just going to move it down and go to the top view. Top view. All right, so it's just in front of the subject, which I really don't like. I always want to place the light about 45-degree here. So it adds a little bit detailing on the highlights you can see here. See that? All right, so once you're happy with that, I can just turn on the environment light. Bam. And I can also turn this intensity down maybe to 70. Yep. And I can just go back to one view. Well, that looks really nice, right? Or maybe I could just select the subject and make it float mid-air like this a little bit. Okay. You can also adjust the framing. Hit C and move it down a touch here. And you can just hit P, Shift and A on the camera, set a keyframe, and go to the last and see and reframe the camera. Yep, I think that is really a very good starting point. Now that you have the lights and the animation in place, let's try to clean up the render because we have a lot of noise here. So let's go to advanced render options, and I'm just going to crank up this here and maybe go to double and increase the smoothness. And I'm just going to hit OK, and let's just see what we have. Yep, that's a very clean render. So one last thing I would do is the render is really very clean and flat. So I will be adding a depth of field to the camera so that we have a very realistic render. Just go inside the camera options and let's just turn on the depth of field. Just turn this on. And it's going to take a while to render again. So I'm just going to advance render options, crank down the quality, go to 3 and go to full, hit OK. And I'm going to adjust the depth of field, the focus of this first, and I can crank up the quality later on. Okay, so just go to two views, go to top view, the top view. So we're going to adjust the focus distance here. So you can just scrub the values of this. You can see that this is the focus distance. You can see if I scrub the values, it's coming down. So I can just scrub the values here and set it exactly on the position of this. So you can see it's rendering here. Yep, better. Maybe just a little bit, somewhere here. And I can also crank up the aperture for this because we need a very shallow depth of field. Just crank up to 70 here. Well, I really like the depth of field somewhere here and on the caps here. Once you're happy with this, just go to render options, go to double, hit OK. Of course, it's going to take a lot of time to render out because this is 3D, okay? So I hope you learned something from this tutorial. This is Motion Designer and I will see you in my next video. Take care.